Hello, Gemini. Welcome to your August soul session. I am Princess India if you're new. And if you're family, welcome back, my friend, and what's not or whatever. So, we're going to go ahead and get into you guys' cards. We're going to be looking at an overall energy as well as a challenge. And then we're getting into a more specific spread to see what is going on with you all for the month of August. I hope you have been doing fine, Gemini. And hopefully, my computer and my camera continue to do fine. Because if you watched any of the soul sessions prior to this one, that was too many cards. Prior to this one, it has been a whole ordeal and a shit show, for lack of better terms. But anywho, let's hope that this good energy stays on our side, Gemini. So, looking at our cards for our overall energy for the month of August, we have the Three of Cuppies. This is challenged by the Ace of Swords in the reverse. So, which it is looking like, Gemini. For the month of August, I mean, I feel it's a pretty positive energy for you guys. Something I can say for sure. And well, I mean, Geminis are pretty social. It would behoove you to fraternize and gallivant a little bit this month. I also feel it would be a great positive influence on you to spend time with friends as well as family. So, how this is kind of coming to me is like the energy of play. If you are a member on my network, which you should be because it's free, I have an article in She Do News. It's called She Do Society, by the way. But the link is in the description box below. But anyway, but I have an article that I wrote in She Do News that's about adult ways to play. So how you, like, when you get those oracle cards and they're like surrender to play, right? So the article talks about ways that adults can play, right? Which is vastly different than what you would think. You know what I mean? Because it's not us playing like a kid. So definitely check that out. But anywho, but I feel it's kind of one of those situations where in August, not saying that you should completely, throw your responsibilities to the side or anything, but this is more or less saying that there's a need to come to a place of balance this month in reference to your social life and your inner circle. So it very well could be leading up until this point. You've been spending a lot of time by yourself. And the vibe I'm kind of getting is like Gemini's working towards like an end goal. So it's something that you're working on, whether you're trying to save money or whatever, but it's something that you're focused on. And logically, it makes sense to neglect, fraternizing and gallivanting because it's more time you can focus on getting to this particular end goal. But the downside of that, which you guys may not be seeing, the the byproduct of is that can ultimately lead to burnout or you just kind of losing passion for what it is that you're doing, or even getting like writer's block if you're working on something like that. And I see that very much with our Ace of Swords in the reverse. It's more or less you guys getting to a mental place to where you're stuck. So whether that's with your creativity or it's just with your life path in general. And I've been seeing a lot of this with a lot of signs this month. There's like a heavy energy that's affecting all signs that has a lot to do with like disillusionment and like loss of hope. It's like being in this place where everything kind of loses all meaning. And I know that sounds extremely existential, but that's totally what I've been seeing for all of the signs I've done prior to you. So where's the sense of like losing hope or things losing meaning? And it's like, what am I doing this for? What's the point of this? You know what I mean? So the challenge for you guys is to kind of overcome a mental block, but I feel your overall energy is telling you what the solution is, even if it seems kind of counterintuitive. So your solution is, going without as opposed to going within. It's spending time with friends, going out, getting a cup of coffee, you know what I mean? Going to brunch, whatever, you know what I mean? Doing something that is the opposite of the energy that you've been in up until this point. Now, getting into our more specific spread, your central energy representing you. Well, look at that. For the month of August, we have the Lovers. That is Gemini energy. Your past influence is the Fool in the reverse, and that is Aries energy. So we had a little bit of a delayed start here. Your hidden influence, interesting. Oh no, My computer just did the thing. We have the 10 of Wands. I didn't want to jinx myself. Come on, man. Let me just finish this freaking reading. Okay. Your potential outcome, oh, child, is the 7 of Wands. Okay. And what to look out for moving forward. Oh, geez. We have the 2 of Swords. So here is the thing, Gemini. I mean, your overall energy pretty much summed this up. So your past influence coming into the present with the Fool in the reverse. I said this to Taurus before, you guys. With the Fool in the reverse, it is a delay to a new beginning, a delay to a new start. But as I always say, it's delayed, not denied, right? However, what is a bit concerning is to make sure that, and I said something very similar to Taurus, so if you have that in your chart, definitely check it out. But whenever things are delayed, we oftentimes come to a place to where we assume that they are denied. You know what I mean? And we end up responding in accordance with that assumption. And where the issue is with this is that puts us at risk for like reactionary energy. You know what I mean? And being very impulsive and kind of jumping the gun. And I'm feeling this more because your past influence, of course, is speaking about like the latter part of July. But I'm feeling this kind of bleeding into like the first 2 weeks of August. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. This is weird. It's weird because I'm literally trying to make sense of it in my mind, but it's not my message. So stop trying to make sense of it in your mind, Princess India. Sorry, I had to have a conversation with myself. So anyway, so the thing I was hearing was something like with money and saving money. And so it's like a person who's saving money towards something. And my brain is still trying to fight me on making sense of this. So I need to just say it. It's saving money towards something, but something happening to where you can't spend the money on said thing for some reason. And what this Fool in the reverse would be representing in reference to this would be saying, okay, well, I can't buy this thing. God bless the truth. Anyway, if you said bless you, thank you. But anyway, so you can't spend this money on this thing for whatever reason. And the next thought being, well, screw it. Since I can't buy that, then I'm just going to spend it on something else. You know what I mean? I don't really like, my brain was trying to make sense of that because I was like, what situation would a person ever be into where you would save money and like blow it? But that's not for me to know. But that's kind of the energy that I'm feeling with the Fool in the reverse. If you feel comfortable sharing in the comments, please let me know, because when I get messages like that, I'm always interested to see how it is that they're playing out, you know, in you guys' lives. So if you know what the heck I'm talking about, let me know in the comments, because I'd be wanting to know, you know. So the whole thing is if you've been working towards something, so I'll generalize it for everyone else. If you've been working towards something and you hit some sort of a roadblock, for some of you, this could literally be working out, because, you know, like when you're working out and trying to lose weight, you hit like a plateau, like that's just a part of the process. So you hit a plateau and it seems like you're not losing any more weight. The Fool in the reverse energy would influence you to say F it all and just like go back to eating like junk food and saying screw working out. You feel what I'm saying? So there's some element of that, you know what I mean? But I feel with this, where we're coming into the Lovers, which is your present energy representing you all, what the goal is to come to a place of balance, because it's a lot of extremism energy that I'm feeling with this. Thank you. All or nothing is what I just heard. It's very much an all or nothing type of deal. And when you're very black and white about stuff, or all or nothing about stuff, especially when it comes to things like for yourself, it's pretty much also simultaneously stating that you're lacking self-compassion for yourself, right? Because it needs to be done right. It needs to be perfect. It needs to be in this time frame. And if it's not perfect, it's like throwing the whole thing away. So it's highlighting that kind of a mentality. But like I said, going back to you guys, well, shit, I mean, that makes the challenge make sense for me. Child, spirit trying to get y'all to a point to get mentally delivered in the month of August. But that's the reason why your overall energy, the Three of Cups, is so important, because that is a very counterintuitive energy. To think of, if you're aspiring to get to a particular outcome, logically, right? One side of the lover's logic would tell you focus all of your time, effort, and energy on the end goal. From the moment that you wake up to the time that you go to sleep, put all of your everything into making steps towards said end goal. Logically, that makes sense. However, the other facet of yourself, right, like your feminine energy, the part of you that is very much aligned with passivity and stillness and rest, that whole facet of yourself is being completely neglected, right? And I like to think whenever we get out of balance by nature, like in the universe always wants to course correct to get back to a sense of stasis, right? So that usually, don't know where all this is coming from, that usually comes by way of destruction, right? So whenever things, and I mean, you can see that in nature, like whenever things get off balance, right, in nature, there's always something catastrophic that has to happen in order to create equilibrium, in so many words. So in order for you to get back to that place of balance that sometimes is birthed via chaos, you feel what I'm saying? So I feel this is more or less like a heads up of saying, like, hey, Gemini, you don't have to, like, crash out and hit a wall and, everything blow up or whatever in order for you to understand this lesson. It's just more or less recognizing the signs and symptoms of it. So seeing whatever this delay is, what your first inclination is to solve it, which 9 times out of 10 is going to be avoidance, because that's just natural. It's like whatever the discomfort is, it's wanting to react in a way to where you can dodge this discomfort, or it's trying to control the situation. So trying to force it to happen. And if you can't force it to happen, then it's like completely cutting it off and, just going with something that's going to numb the discomfort that you're feeling, right? But overall, what it is that I'm seeing here is it's like a very black and white, all or nothing type of mentality that Gemini has. So if you don't have all of it, then, it's like sullied and screw it. But I feel the mentality that's on offer is kind of embracing things in transit. You know what I'm saying? It's like, this is the thing that's coming to my mind. It's like if you're in school, you know what I mean? As opposed to looking at yourself as a novice and not qualified because you're still in school, it's like still seeing yourself as a professional. And I'm going to use counseling terms, but it's like still seeing yourself as a professional. You're just not a licensed professional yet. You know what I mean? But it doesn't mean that you're like a complete novice and you know absolutely nothing. You're on a professional level. You're just not licensed yet. So that doesn't mean that you should deny the knowledge and, experience that you have just because you don't have the licensure yet. I hope and pray that that's making sense. And just a little insight into this with the lovers, of course, most people see that as the choice card, hit or heart decision. I more or less see the lovers as like an elevation card, if you will. I don't see it as head or heart. I see it as both. You know what I'm saying? And like wisdom being like, 'cause, when you think about the little angel that's on the card, I feel the message of this card is not about Adam or Eve. It's both of them together and what the unification of the two of them create. You know what I'm saying? So it's like logic and emotions come together to create like that wisdom or that higher consciousness. You know what I mean? Seeing the bigger picture of everything in so many words. And I feel that's the energy you guys have. That's who you are, Gemini twins, the whole thing. But it's more or less you guys graduating to a higher vantage point as opposed to seeing things from like a very, subjective sensory consciousness kind of perspective. Now, with you guys hidden influence being the 10 of wands, I see this as a lot of unnecessary baggage that's being carried for you all. And I see this more or less going back to this mindset with like all or nothing thinking. I feel pressure. Oh, damn it. My computer did the thing. God damn it. Son of a gun. We were doing so well. We were doing so well. Oh. Gemini, please donate to my GoFundMe. Link is in the description box below this video. We are almost there. I checked today, and I'm literally at like $4.99 of donations. Thank you to all of you that have donated. Please donate to my GoFundMe so I can get a new laptop so this can stop happening. But let me try to fix this, and I'll be back in a second, Gemini. Jeez Louise. Sorry about that, Gemini. We're almost there. We're going to get there. We're going to get a new laptop and things are going to be so much better, I promise. Okay, anyway, but with the 10 of Wands, I feel like it's kind of like, how I'm seeing it is weird. It's like I'm seeing it like baggage, but how I'm seeing it is like, that's the way I can say it where it makes sense. But how I'm seeing it is like residue. You know what I mean? So if you think about, I don't know, like if you use like janky like laundry detergent and there's like residue that's left on your clothes, that's what this 10 of Wands feels like to me. So it's kind of like, because of this unbalanced energy and you going so hard in the paint in one particular, direction, or, pushing yourself beyond your limits in so many words. Or if we put it in the context of, solely acting in logic, our Adam, right? Or solely acting in emotion, which is our Eve. It's like the energy that's building up underneath it all is like the residue of all these things. Okay, well, that is a perfect example. Well, thank you, guides. Okay, so here's something specific, Gemini. So this is kind of like, if there's a person who has been disappointed, heartbroken, let down, like a series of events like this, right? And your way of coping with it is obsessively overworking, right? So what you do is every time you're heartbroken or you're disappointed, it's like you start a new business, right? Or you create a new product, or, you take on some, I don't know, like community service project or something, right? So it's never really quite dealing with the thing that has hurt you. It's just finding something to keep you busy. Now, because we're talking about the 10 of Wands, let's say you've done that for 10 years, right? For some of you, 10 months, right? You do that for this continued time frame. That energy, as I often say, energy cannot be created nor destroyed. It just, transfers into another form, right? So with your emotions are energy and motion, right? So with those emotions, they're not going anywhere, right? You're just suppressing them down. That's what creates like a pressure cooker to where you end up like exploding. So that happens sometimes with like abstaining from things, right? Like we said, like with a diet, right? You don't allow yourself any cheat days and you're just eating healthy, eating healthy, eating healthy. You get triggered one day and what happens? You fall back into eating a whole like, shit ton of junk food, you know what I mean? And you fall off the bandwagon, right? So the key is to come to an equilibrium with this. So that goes back to this all or nothing thinking, right? And for those of my therapy people out there, that's a thought distortion, right? Speaking CBT, that's a thought distortion, right? So, and even if we throw in a little DBT in here, going back to this lover's card, we're speaking of emotion mind, rational mind and wise mind. So what the whole key is you have the potential, and I'm really about to get super DBT right now, but every single human being on planet Earth has access to wise mind at all times, right? You don't have to be a super great, meditator or be on some certain spiritual level. Like all of that is irrelevant. All of us have access to wise mind at all times. And I feel what the biggest message in all of this is for Gemini is letting you know that you possess the ability to access your wise mind. And I mean, if you don't know what that is, you can Google it. But anyway, but you have the ability to access your wise mind. And with the decisions that you guys are making this month, it's imperative to be coming from that place, the unification and the marriage of both logic and emotion. So it's taking both into account, which goes back to what I was saying with this 3 of Cups. If you've been heavily focused on, achieving something or doing something to, escape your emotions, you're eventually going to end up crashing out. And so the same on the other side, right? If you're, so much in your emotions, eventually you're going to end up acting on them. And acting on emotions devoid of logic is what this fool in the reverse is speaking about. And also going to our outcome with the seven of wands as well. So I feel on both sides, whichever side of the proverbial Likert scale that you're falling on, whether it's too much rationality or too much emotionality, what can put you in a vulnerable position with the seven of wands with your outcome, because I feel like you literally have a choice how it is that you decide to end this month. It's very similar to what I said to Taurus as well. Gemini is vulnerable, but the reason why you're vulnerable is because of this all or nothing thinking. Like, that's what's created this vulnerable spot. But I feel this fool in the reverse energy can carry into August. And I mean, as far as the latter part of August, by you guys not, by you guys responding and not reacting, right? So with the seven of swords, it's saying that you guys do have the upper hand in this situation, right? Inherently, also with this lovers, you guys do have the upper hand in this situation. However, I feel this residual energy that's showing up in your hidden influence in accordance with your challenge, ace of swords in the reverse, as well as your past influence being the fool in the reverse. Those are the energies that are putting you at a vulnerability. However, it is your choice whether or not you allow yourself to step down from this vantage point that you're at. If you elect to connect to wise mind and make your decisions from there, so you're not making decisions on screw how I'm feeling, logically, practically, this makes sense, or you're not making decisions from, I know logically and practically this doesn't make sense, but it just feels so right in my spirit. I just have an emotional connection to it. You know what I mean? You're not making decisions from either of those places, right? That keeps you at this point to where you have the advantage in this situation, right? So that you can navigate forward through this little challenging energy and be in a good place. However, like I said, this all goes back to choices and decisions that you guys are making. So you could potentially put yourself at a disadvantage if you stay in this imbalance. So what the whole goal of this month is balance, right? And I feel that bringing other people into the fold, whether that's like what I said, fraternizing and gallivanting, or even if it's in the sense of just switching up your energy, asking a friend for advice, having a friend around just because, their vibe and your vibe coincide in a good way. You know what I mean? But I feel those are ways to kind of temper this energy and balance yourself out so that you don't end up falling for your own okie doke in a sense. Now, with this two of swords that we have and what to look out for moving forward, I feel there's the potential for an impasse here, but I don't necessarily feel, how can I say this? It is a crossroads, it is an impasse, but it doesn't feel super serious to me. That's like how I want to say this. This isn't like a life or death type of thing. You know what I mean? It's not like a life or death type of thing. However, I do feel that it's something that can be imposed on you out of the blue unexpectedly. You know what I mean? And my advice for that, Gemini, honestly, if we were to push this back to like the latter part of August, and I could put all of this together to make this make sense. I don't know when this is going to happen, but I'm just saying. I mean, it's moving forward, but I mean, forward could be anytime after the 1st of August, right? But if we were to push this back to the latter part of August, if what you're grappling with this entire month is when you're making decisions about things or what direction to go into, my guides are telling me all of this is leading up into this. I stand corrected. So all of this is leading up into a thing, but this thing would be imposed on you at a time that you're not expecting. So back to what I was saying. Going throughout the course of the month of August, it's you kind of practicing this. So it's you practicing with, I mean, this could literally be, do I want to get out of the bed on the right side or the left side this morning, right? It could be very simple things that you're practicing this with. But it's you practicing throughout the course of the month of responding from like wise mind, right? as opposed to just, straight practicality or emotionality, depending on what side that you fall on, because everybody's on different sides of this, right? And you making decisions from that place to where it's taking both of those into account, right? So when this particular thing happens, it's someone asking you to give your response or to make a decision on something, but it being unexpected, right? So with it being unexpected and them kind of pressuring, like, hey, we need an answer like now. You know what I'm saying? I feel you could be vulnerable to go with your urge, right? Like what the first instant action is, you know what I'm saying? But the key is here is to check in with yourself. So to put it simply, it's kind of like checking in with your gut in a sense, right? It's like, what is your gut instinct saying? But not you just instantly reacting from like a mental place, you know what I mean? Or like an emotional place. So this is going to be that instantaneous sensory feel it in your body kind of deal. That's the best way that I could kind of describe it. Was that you guys? It was you guys. If I use myself as an example, when I was getting the message coming in with the fool, and you know how I was saying, like, I'm arguing with my own mind. So it's like I know what my guides are telling me, but I'm trying to make sense of what they're telling me. And I'm telling myself, like, this ain't even about me. So, like, why are you trying to make sense of it? It's not supposed to make sense for you, right? It's like that kind of vibe, right? So it's something that's coming in, and that's how wise mind works, right? So you get something in, right? I can't necessarily say where, because for me, it's like you feel it all over. So it's like you get a message in, but when your mind starts to kind of deconstruct it or make sense of it, that's when we start getting confused because we start making judgments, right? So when messages are coming into us from spirit, the best position to be in is in a position of observation. So we're observing what's coming in. The second that we make a judgment about it, whether that's like practically, well, that doesn't make sense practically, right? Or emotionally, it's like, oh, I don't know how I feel about that, right? Once we make that judgment, that's when things start getting convoluted and we start messing up messages that we're getting from spirit. And I literally did that with you guys at the very beginning of this reading. So the key is when you guys are posed with this choice that you need to make in the month of August, the key is for you to remove yourself from it, right? And to listen to what it is that spirit is telling you, what your soul is telling you, higher self, however it is that you want to look at it. It's like tapping into that space or your gut instinct, right? Like what your visceral sensory reaction is to it, and looking at that aside from you starting to deconstruct it in your brain and looking at what the judgment is about the thing. It's like, oh, well, I don't know about this. Would this really work? Is this practical? And what if I don't like the people there? You know what I mean? All of that stuff is just judgments that we're making based on our past experience. So you want to look at what that first thing is that comes to you, that first sensory type of, vibe that you're getting, or whatever that first idea is that comes in before you start making judgments about it. And that's the best way for you guys to navigate forward. But like I said, my advice in reference to this is with little decisions that you're making throughout. I mean, from the time you hear this reading, because some of y'all are going to hear this before it's even August. No, you're not. I lied. It's going to be August when you hear this. But anyway, the best way to kind of navigate this is to practice this. So just with little decisions that you're making day to day, try to check in with yourself and see if you can notice the difference between that logic, that emotional, and try to listen for wise mind, right? And kind of challenge yourself with stuff that's not, too serious, just for you to get like practice. You know what I'm saying? Like, am I going to brush my teeth first and then wash my face? Or am I going to wash my face and then brush my teeth? You know what I'm saying? Like with little things like that, just to get yourself in the habit of listening for wise mind. And I feel that's what's going to help you when this ends up coming along. But like I said, what my guide said, this is going to be something that's going to transpire towards the latter part of August as opposed to in the beginning. But I just feel it would behoove you to practice. But I hope and pray that that made sense, Gemini. I guess I'm going to throw my dice of resonance. For those of you who've been with me for some time, I have the dice of resonance again. I made some new ones, but I threw them for Taurus, so I'm going to throw them for you guys. It has zodiac signs and like placements in the birth chart, and then you can ask a yes or no question. So, whether you're trying to find out something about a certain person or you want to answer to a yes or no question, go ahead and ask that question now. And I'm going to throw the dice of resonance. I don't even know what I'm going to do with them moving forward. Well, I know one thing I'm going to do with them, and I'll tell you guys about that at a later date. But anyway, we'll see what happens. Interesting. So you have coworker, Gemini, Venus, Aquarius, male, and ask again. Okay, so ask your yes or no question again, because it said ask again. Gemini. It says ask Jesus. I'm not lying. I made these so y'all know I'm cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. I don't know if y'all can see it because it literally says ask Jesus. Child, look, I'm gonna try one more time for y'all, okay? So with the people stuff, it's coworker, Gemini, Venus, Aquarius, and male. Okay, the answer it has is no, ma'am. That's what it says. It says no, ma'am. But anyway, Gemini, that's been your soul session. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you guys were here when the Dice of Resonance was here, go ahead and put dice in the chat or, in the comments. But anywho, I love your freaking face, Gemini, and I will see you guys sooner than